Imagine a man standing alone amidst a field of dry bones, a place that seems abandoned by hope and life. In a dramatic vision, the bones begin to rattle and come together, flesh forming upon them, until a once-dead army rises to its feet, fully alive. This isn't a scene from a science fiction novel or a dramatic film. It's a vision experienced by one of the Bible's most enigmatic prophets, Ezekiel. The story of Prophet Ezekiel is filled with vivid imagery, profound messages, and mysterious visions that captivate the imagination and challenge our understanding of faith. While many know about the famous Valley of Dry Bones, Ezekiel's life and message are far richer and more complex than this single vision. His prophetic ministry was a tapestry of divine revelations, warnings, and promises, set against the backdrop of one of the most tumultuous periods in Israel's history. So why is Ezekiel often overshadowed by other prophets like Isaiah or Jeremiah? What made his prophetic mission unique, and why should his story matter to us today? Buckle up as we embark on a journey to uncover the untold story of Prophet Ezekiel, exploring his extraordinary visions, the significance of his messages, and the impact of his ministry on biblical prophecy. To fully appreciate Ezekiel's story, it's essential to understand the historical and cultural context in which he prophesied. Ezekiel's ministry took place during one of the most challenging periods for the people of Israel, the Babylonian exile. The Babylonian exile began in 586 BCE when the Babylonians, under King Nebuchadnezzar II, destroyed Jerusalem and the Temple, taking many Israelites into captivity. This event was a profound trauma for the Israelites, who saw their sacred city and temple, the center of their worship and national identity, reduced to ruins. Ezekiel was among those exiled to Babylon. His ministry occurred during this period of displacement and despair, a time when the Israelites grappled with questions of identity, faith, and hope. Unlike other prophets who prophesied in Jerusalem before the exile, Ezekiel prophesied in Babylon, among the exiles. His role was not just to offer consolation, but also to challenge and redirect the Israelites' understanding of their relationship with God. His messages were both a response to their current plight and a preparation for their eventual restoration. Ezekiel's visions and messages. Ezekiel's prophetic ministry is renowned for its dramatic and symbolic visions. These visions were not merely strange occurrences, but deeply significant messages from God, revealing divine truths and future promises. The vision of the chariot, Ezekiel 1. Ezekiel's first major vision is one of the most spectacular and mysterious in the Bible. He sees a vision of a divine chariot, known as the Merkabah, or chariot vision, which includes 4 living creatures with multiple wings and faces, wheels within wheels, and a throne with the appearance of sapphire. This vision is rich with symbolism and speaks to God's transcendence and the heavenly realm's complexities. It emphasizes God's majesty and power, setting the tone for Ezekiel's prophetic messages. The vision also signifies God's presence, even in exile, demonstrating that he is not confined to the temple in Jerusalem. The Valley of Dry Bones, Ezekiel 37. Perhaps Ezekiel's most famous vision is the Valley of Dry Bones. In this vision, Ezekiel is taken to a valley filled with dry bones and commanded by God to prophesy to them. As he speaks, the bones come together, covered with flesh, and then God breathes life into them, and they stand up as a vast army. This vision symbolizes the restoration of Israel. The dry bones represent the people of Israel in exile, who felt lifeless and without hope. The resurrection of the bones signifies God's promise to restore and revitalize his people, both physically and spiritually. It is a powerful message of hope and renewal for those in despair. The symbolic actions, Ezekiel 4-5. Ezekiel's ministry also involved performing symbolic actions to convey God's messages. For example, he was commanded to lie on his side for 390 days to symbolize the years of Israel's sin, and then on his other side for 40 days to represent Judah's sin. He also shaved his head and beard and burned part of the hair as a sign of the coming judgment and destruction. These symbolic acts were meant to visually demonstrate the consequences of the Israelites' disobedience and the severity of God's judgment. They were intended to provoke reflection and repentance among the people. Ezekiel's prophecies and their impact. Ezekiel's prophecies were not only about judgment, but also about hope and restoration. His messages were designed to prepare the Israelites for their eventual return to their land and to renew their covenant with God. Prophecies against nations. Ezekiel's ministry included pronouncements against surrounding nations like Ammon, Moab, Edom, and Egypt. These prophecies detailed their impending judgment and the reasons for it. This aspect of Ezekiel's ministry highlighted that God's judgment was not confined to Israel alone, but extended to all nations that opposed him or acted unjustly. The New Covenant, Ezekiel 36:37. One of Ezekiel's most profound contributions was his vision of a new covenant. In Ezekiel 36:26-27, God promises to give the Israelites a new heart and spirit, removing their heart of stone and giving them a heart of flesh. This promise signifies a spiritual renewal, where God's laws will be internalized and his people will be transformed from within. This prophecy also connects with the Valley of Dry Bones vision, emphasizing that God's restoration is both physical and spiritual. The renewal of the people is accompanied by a promise of divine presence and guidance. The vision of the new temple, Ezekiel 40:48. In his final vision, Ezekiel describes a detailed vision of a new temple and a renewed land. This vision outlines the measurements and design of the temple, the allocation of land, and the restoration of worship practices. It reflects the hope for a future where God's presence will dwell among his people, and worship will be restored in its fullness. This vision symbolizes not just the physical rebuilding of the temple, but also the spiritual restoration of the relationship between God and his people. It represents the fulfillment of God's promises and the establishment of his kingdom on earth. Ezekiel's story is not just about ancient prophecies and visions. It holds timeless lessons for us today. His life and message offer valuable insights into faith, hope, and the nature of God's relationship with his people. Ezekiel's visions remind us of the importance of seeing beyond our immediate circumstances. Just as Ezekiel saw a valley of dry bones transformed into a living army, we are called to have a vision of hope and restoration, even when faced with seemingly hopeless situations. Ezekiel's messages were a call to repentance and obedience. His symbolic actions and prophecies underscore the importance of aligning our lives with God's will and responding to his call for transformation. They challenge us to examine our own lives and seek a genuine relationship with God. The promises of renewal and restoration in Ezekiel's prophecies offer hope for the future. Whether it's the promise of a new heart or the vision of a renewed temple, these promises remind us that God's plans for his people include healing, restoration, and transformation. They encourage us to trust in God's ultimate plan and his ability to bring about change and renewal. The untold story of Prophet Ezekiel is a series of divine visions, prophetic warnings, and promises of restoration. His ministry, set against the backdrop of exile and despair, offers a powerful message of hope and renewal. Ezekiel's vivid visions and symbolic actions reveal the depth of God's relationship with His people and His plans for their future. As we explore Ezekiel's life and message, we gain valuable insights into the nature of prophecy, the importance of obedience, and the promise of divine restoration. His story challenges us to see beyond our current circumstances and trust in God's transformative power. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Ezekiel's profound and mystical journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who might find it enlightening. Stay tuned for more deep dives into the mystical and inspiring stories of the Bible.